Shalom, shalom, shalom lakam, which is peace unto you all. Hayawam tawab la'atam, za'akyakam yawam, man rachagadol Charlotte, which is, this is your brother, Yawam from the GMS camp in Charlotte. Kahalayim la abanawa Yahweh bahasham, Yahweh shah bahasham rachahakwadash, wa mashana, la zakwanim nawa wa malakim shaw rachagadol. Alright, which is all praises to our Father, Yahweh, which means He exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai delivers. And double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Alright, this is RayaCh chapter 17 and verse 5, and it says, they received the use of 5 operations of the Lord, and in the 6th place He imparted them understanding, and in the 7th speech, an interpreter of the cogitations thereof. You see, so the 5 operations of the Lord going to your sight, your hearing, your sense of touch, taste, and smell. All of these are the 5 operations of the Lord, all right, which in Hebrew would be chamash ma'aisha. Chamash is 5, ma'aisha will be operations. All right, so nevertheless, continuing on, I'm gonna read this real fast. It says all 5 senses, so to speak. It says touch, smell, taste, sight, and hearing. It says collaborate to feed information about our surrounding environment into the brain. The concept is known as perception. So I'm gonna get this real fast. It says perception. It says a result of perceiving. It says awareness of elements of environment through physical sensation. Then it says physical sensation interpreted in the light of experience. Which the scriptures say, he that has traveled much has much experience. Roughly paraphrasing. Let's get that. This is RayaCh chapter 34, and we'll start at verse 9. It says, a man that hath traveled knoweth many things, and he that hath much experience will declare wisdom. He that hath no experience knoweth little, but he that hath traveled is full of prudence. When I travel, I saw many things and understand more than I can express. You see, so through experience, all right, we ultimately gain wisdom in the spirit, and we get that experience, and we can actually we can take in, what we get from an environment through the operations of the Lord, which is your touch, smell, taste, sight, and your hearing. All right, but nevertheless, let's continue on. This is I borrow you Hebrews chapter 5, and we'll get verse 14, and it says, but strong meat belongeth to them that are full of age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. You see, so through the different experiences, like the apostles and elders on down, essentially they have gained experience so they can discern between what's right and what's wrong. You see, and also going inside the senses. Let me get that word for senses, because you gain experiences as well through those 5 operations that the Lord gave to us. But continuing on, it says senses. It says faculty of mind for perceiving, understanding, and judging. You see, and you perceive through your 5 senses. All right. It says an organ of perception, i.e. figuratively judgment and senses. And then you get into this root word, G143, and it says to perceive by the bodily senses with the mind to understand. So you understand your environment, and ultimately you gain knowledge from the different experiences that you have been in through the 5 operations of the Lord. So let's get this going into the sight. But when you break the word sight down, it's Iyan, which means eye. Eye is the eye. Yah is your hand. All right, but with your hands you operate. The Na, that's a seed, and a seed continues your lineage. You see, so when you go into that, it's eye operates continually. And some information that I got on the eye was, the eye can take 10 million pieces of information per second and transfer them to our brain. You can gain information spiritually by physical sight. An example of this will be, I'm going to get this real fast. This is RayaCh. This is RayaCh chapter 19, and we'll get verse 29, and it says, a man may be known by his look, and one that hath understanding by his countenance, when thou meetest him. A man's attire and excessive laughter and gait shew what he is. All right, that's an example of how you can gain spiritual information, all right, through the physical sight, through the eyes, because ultimately that tells you the physical, what someone looks like physically, that can tell you what type of mind frame that they're in. You see, I'm gonna get another one. This is Kohelet Ecclesiastes chapter 8, and we'll give verse 1, and it says, who is as the wise man, and who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. All right, and this is seen, brothers have, like a glow about them, with which in the world they call like a aura. It's the wisdom. You see the wisdom on the brothers. So continuing on, because it doesn't just stop. It doesn't just stop at the physical sight. So I'm gonna get this. This is 2 Corinthians, or this is 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 2. And we'll get verse 15, and it says, "But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man." You see, because judgment doesn't just stop at the physical, I'm gonna get another precept. This is let me see, Hebrews, chapter 4 and verse 12, and it says, "For the word of the Most High is quick and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of thoughts and intents of the heart." All right, we get another one real fast, and then I'll go into that one. But this is John chapter 7 verse 38, and it says, "He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water." You see, so it doesn't just stop at the physical. Like, in order to understand ultimately where one is coming from, to see, if they're in the spirit, ultimately you bring out the word, and naturally, bros, are gonna be talking about prophecy, things that's written in the scriptures, because going back to John 7 and 38, it said, "Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water," which brings me to my next point, which is the ear, which when you break the word ear down, all right, it's ah, which is strength, za goes into a weapon or a tool, and na, seed or continuance. So when you actually break this word down, it will be strong tool for inculcation or seeds, which inculcation or a seed, goes into the introduction of something to the mind, and that happens through the ears. You process information into the brain from the ears. I'm gonna get this real fast. This is Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 1. It says, "A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight." You see, so the word balance ultimately comes from the ears. Ma'azanyam, or it would be ma'aznayam. All right, and it actually comes from the ears. Ahzan, to weigh, to test, to prove, to consider, because ultimately that comes from the ears. I'm gonna get this real fast. This is Job chapter 12 and verse 11, and it says, "Doeth not the ear try words, and the mouth tastes his meat?" Ultimately going into the 5 operations of the Lord. Your mouth, it tastes, meat. Your ears are used for hearing. Your ears also give you balance. And when you actually look at a person's ears, they're balanced. It's like a scale almost. That's why the word scale comes from ears as well. But nevertheless, and then ultimately too, giving someone praise, uplifting them, with positive words, that builds confidence and self-esteem, which ultimately they will balance them out, just in the spirit. But I'm gonna get this word for smell. All right, and that word will be RayaCh. All right, and it comes from rocha. It's a cognate, so to speak. They have similar sounds, and that's why it says si rocha. But it says RayaCh, and it says make of quick understanding. You see, so when you go into that, the ra goes into RayaCh, the head. All right, the ya goes into touch, the hand. You touch with your hands. When you touch something, you make it of quick understanding. Because if you touch it, you're like, okay, well, you see a knife, you're like, all right, is it sharp? All right, I'm gonna touch it. Okay, well, yeah, it's sharp. It makes you of quick understanding. It tells your mind, like, nah. Just like if it might be hot outside or warm outside. You might go to a pool. All right, you dip your toe in there. You like, oh nah, it's too cold. So that makes you of quick understanding because you touched it. The cha, that goes into a wall or a boundary. So when you break the word RayaCh down, which it has a ra, the ya, and the cha, That essentially tells you what's on the head, what's on the head of man touches boundaries. You see, because and that goes into smell, because ultimately to smell something, you sniff, you'll smell, you're like, what's that, so then like you sniffing around a little bit, like dogs when they're sniffing for a scent, they sniff around a little bit, but ultimately what they're looking for is that those chemicals in the air, you see, to ultimately see what they're smelling for. And it says the head, what's on the head of man touches boundaries, because your nose has to ultimately catch that current, the current of the boundaries, you see, because when you smell something, it's moving in a particular fashion. You don't just smell it everywhere. You got to ultimately search where it's at, because your nose has to touch that current of air where those chemicals are, because like, for example, you might be driving, what I'm saying, like, and you driving down the road, and then boom, what I'm saying, you smell something, like, damn, that's a skunk, because you hit that air current. Your nose had to be placed where that skunk, died, or wherever they sprayed at, and just like it's far out how the Lord set it up with skunks, like a lot of times they're predators. They'll spray that stuff into the predator's nose, and you see, because that's ultimately how they can be protected, you see. So just get some precepts on this. This is Shawapatyam, Judges chapter 16 and verse 9, which the scriptures say the Lord speaks in similitudes, and then also parables, you see. But this is Judges 16 and 9. It says, now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Shamashwan. And he brake the withs, as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire, so his strength was not known. So that word toucheth, because when you touch something, you become a quick understanding. But touch spiritually is also in the, you see, so you can touch something with your nose, But that word right there was used in the sense of actually like touching, But continuing on, let's get Hawashah Hosea chapter let me see, chapter 14. We'll get verse 5, and it says, I will be as the dew unto Yasha'Allah. He shall grow as the lily, and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. His branches shall spread, and his beauty shall be as the olive tree, and his smell as Lebanon. They that dwell under his shadow shall return. They shall revive as the corn and grow as the vine. The scent thereof shall be as the wine of Lebanon. You see, so essentially just likening Jake to being restored. If you got that good smell, that's ultimately Jake being restored back to the best estate. Because right now, we're on the bottom. We've been in the bottom for so long. Pretty much just going into how the Lord's going to revive us. You see, so Jake gonna have that new car smell, so to speak. And just to go into that, this is Thalhalium Psalms chapter 92, and we'll get verse 12, and it says, the righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. And the cedar in Lebanon, they had them thick roots. A cedar is a super strong tree. It grow real tall, of stature. It says, those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our power. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They should be fat and flourishing. Hey, we're gonna be flourishing in the kingdom. We're gonna have that new car smell. We're gonna be called Yasha'Allah, sons of the power. All right, continuing on, let's get Judges Shawapatyam chapter 7, and we'll get verse 3. And I'm gonna get an article real fast. It says, now therefore go to proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there return of the people 20 and 2,000, and there remain 10,000. You see, so that brings forth spirits when someone is fearful and afraid. You see, but then also, check this one out. It says the smell of fear is real. Say scientists says the smell of fear, one of the most terrible cliches of pulp fiction, is founded in fact. Scientists claim today people can unconsciously detect whether someone is stressed or scared by smelling chemical pheromone released in their sweat, according to researchers who have investigated the underarm secretions of petrified skydivers. It says the team found that the smell of fear triggered a heightened response in the brain regions associated with fear when inhaled by volunteers in a brain scanner. The research suggests that, like many animal species, humans can detect and subconsciously respond to pheromones released by other people. You see, so that fear is contagious, and you can ultimately smell it. That's one reason that essentially that was said. Whoever is fearful and afraid, let him go home. Right here, it says we demonstrate here the first direct evidence for a human alarm pheromone. Our findings indicate that there may be a hidden biological component to human social dynamics in which emotional stress is quite literally contagious. She declined to comment further on the results because the study is under review with a scientific journal. You see, so going back to Judges 7 and 4, it says, let him return home, or let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead, because that's contagious, and that ultimately goes into the smell, you see. So the Lord set this up in a very strategic way, But it says, your sense of smell is also associated with emotions and learning, So if you want to learn something, you might put some peppermint under your nose, or if you want to, you want a little bit of energy, you might sniff some cinnamon. And that's that they call that like a aromatherapy, you see. But your sense of smell is likened to your emotions as well, you see. So continuing on, let's get a Nagi, touch. All right, which the Na goes into a seed. All right, which means continue, which another meaning of continue means maintain the action, to forge ahead with intention. God means to produce, to be productive. Iyan, I, serve, which means to prove adequate or satisfactory, to work through, to treat or act in a specified way. You see, so a lot of times you might, Jake might make some tea. You like, all right, let me touch and see if it's hot. You touch the outside of the glass. You like, all right, no, I'm not gonna drink that. Or you might touch it with the back of your hand. The back of your hand, the front part of your hand. Jay don't touch with the front part of your hand because that part can feel heat more. Jay could touch it with the back of the hand because that 9 times out of 10, if you touch with the back of the hand and it's somewhat warm, you'll still drink it. And that's because of how the Lord set it up. So when you go into touch, it says touching allows us to know, to continue with our intention and produce. This is adequate / satisfactory to make a judgment and perceive with the brain. So let's get the Holyam Psalms chapter 105. Okay, we'll get verse 15, and it says, saying, touch not mine anointed and do my prophets no harm. You see, because essentially you touch something, all right, you like, all right, you ultimately understand if you can go ahead with your intention, or your intention might change and you go over along with the intention and say, no, don't do this. You see, but ultimately right here, the Lord saying, hey, don't even touch, his anointed. You see, so we understand that in the scriptures that some of the elect is going to be touched. You see, so that's going to give the Lord that much more of a go ahead. You see what I'm saying, to judge Esau. He going to do something terrible to Esau, because to even touch, to even have the intention of even grabbing, that's an offense, So nevertheless, let me get Matthew chapter 9 and verse 21. Matthew chapter 9 and verse 21, and it says, verse 20, and behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. For she said within herself, if I may touch his garment, I shall be whole. You see, because if you touch something, that gives you, whatever your intention is, you like, okay, this is what I can do. So she had, that showed her faith, you see, because she had the intention of being healed. She like, hey, shit, if I could just touch his garment, I'll be healed. So that showed her faith. All right, verse 21. For she said within herself, if I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole. But Yahushua turned about, and when he saw her, he said, daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour. You see, so because she believed, you see, and when you touch something that in your brain, all right, that ultimately tells you, all right, it gives you the go ahead to go along with your intention. Her intention was to be made whole. That showed her what great amount of faith she had, All right. So I'm gonna get this. This is Sirach chapter 2 and verse 5. All right. And it says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. You see, because Ta goes into surround, I goes into experience or recognize, the Ma goes into water, which is a baptism. It says an act of experience or ordeal by which one is purified or sanctified, initiated or named. You see, so When you go into taste, it's Taim, and the Ta is the surrounding taste buds. The I is to experience or to recognize. You see, because your taste buds allow you to recognize what you're tasting. The Ma is water, baptism. All right, so those that essentially put on Yahweh Shah, which represents that true baptism, all right, that true water. All right, essentially they're gonna be tried. You see, so that's why a lot of times, Jay be like, this got much, this got enough. That's the taste buds. Taim, tasting, because taste buds surround the tongue, and this allows us to recognize flavor through testing. You see, and that testing ultimately will be the straight gate, which represents Yahweh Shah. You see, so the Hebrew is the Lord said, he said, lo, I come in the volume of the book, it is written of me. You see, all this goes back to Yahweh Shah. You see, but I'm gonna get this too, just to go into that point, because I brought it out. This is Mathathi in Matthew chapter 7 and verse 13. It says, enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. You see, so ultimately those that go through the straight gate, all right, the elect, they're ultimately going to make it into the kingdom. You see, whether they have to be martyrs or not, but those 2/3, hey, they're gonna be destroyed on this side, But even with the 5 operations, or the senses, so to speak, all right, those are likened to Yahweh Shah as well, But I'm gonna get this too. This is Mathathia, or Salah. This is Yashaya, Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 19, and it says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. I want to get this because the Lord made the animals, he made the water, he made everything, so it's not far-fetched for the Lord to raise up a standard, which when you go into standard, it means a way to flee. So it'll be brothers flying, it could be brothers flying, brothers running super fast. You see, but I want to get this too, because the Lord can turn the tap on your senses of the operations of the Lord, through touch. And he might allow a brother to touch, the ground, and feel, all right, yeah, nah, this ain't a safe area, or give you super sight. He give you super smell, like how some of these animals is, or even greater. You can smell like, nah, like I don't like the smell of this, or super hearing, supersonic hearing, or something like that, or it could be to where you could taste what's in the air. You see, because your taste is connected with your smell, so you might be able to taste the air, and it might relay some information to you. You might be able to do something with that just in the spirit, in them times when the Lord starts raising up his men, But yeah, see, I just want to go into that. That was a Hamash Ma'aisha, which is the 5 operations of the Lord, which in Babylon or in the other parts of the world, they're called that the 5 senses: the touch, the taste, the sight, smell, and hearing. So I don't want to Zaza Banaya Pa, Lord's word, there's a beautiful edification through the spirit. Wa Adoran Taza Atam Yashawam Tawab, Lord's will, you all have a good day. Wa Shalom Lakam, which is peace to you all. Shalom, shalom.